know, there used to be entire YouTube channels dedicated, big ones, to just reviewing cases. You know, laptop cases, iPhone cases. I never really got super into that because I was like, you know, how interesting could a case really be? I'm not a big case guy. But this has got to be the most interesting case we've seen in a long time. This is the new Apple Magic Keyboard case for the new iPad Pro. $300 for the small one, $350 for this bigger one. And there was a lot of hype for this case, right? It was announced alongside this new iPad, which was barely actually different from the previous iPad Pro, but along with the new mouse and cursor support on the iPad, it re-stoked this whole fire of, can the iPad Pro be a full-time computer? So I've been using this new iPad and this Magic case as my primary computer for the past couple days and all weekend, and the conclusion I've gotten to is this is the best version of the iPad as a computer, for sure. But I would still rather have a laptop. Let me explain. So for your money, this is actually a pretty substantial, nice case. There's a lot going on here. It's a top part full of magnets that locks onto the iPad and does not let go. It's a strong magnet pattern matching up to the iPad. Then there's a hinge, which is this long metal tube through the middle with a USB Type-C pass-through port on the side for charging. Then a base, which is this silicon rubberized material we've seen in Apple cases before, with a full-size backlit keyboard and trackpad. And it's a lot of material. It's a bit thicker and heavier also than you might be imagining. You ready for this? iPad Pro weighs, this big one, 640 grams. And then without the iPad, the case by itself weighs another 702 grams. So it weighs more than the iPad. So combined, they are thicker and heavier than a MacBook Air. And so while it's not nearly as elegant to open and close like a laptop would be, the one thing you can say about this case is it is well built. So to get this in place, basically you open this up and quickly you find that the hinge has this locking point where it gets to the locking point and it snaps into place. And that's nice. And then the top part continues opening like a hinge. So you've opened it like this, you take the iPad, you lock it with the magnets into the top half, everything lights up, the pins are all connected, and now it's floating above the keyboard as advertised. Now, we've already seen iPad cases with keyboards before. There's plenty of people already using them, but there's a couple things that make this one so impressive. Number one is that hinge. It's pretty stiff like a laptop, and it is limited in how far back it goes, but I actually find it goes just far back enough for any of my normal use. It just kind of pops off the back and hovers the iPad there. Then the keyboard is really nice. I think it's the nicest part. It's scissor switches, so it has a nice travel, and it actually feels clicky like the new MacBook Air and 16-inch MacBook Pro's keys. And since the board is stiff and well built, there's actually no flex at all, unlike some laptops. And then it's backlit, which no doubt sucks a little bit of extra power from the iPad's battery, but I like the backlight. It's a nice touch. It fades on and off. And just generally, yeah, it's the best keyboard I've ever seen in an iPad case. That's facts. And then, of course, there's the trackpad too. It's not the biggest trackpad in the world, like you might find on a full-size laptop, but it is nice, and it definitely completes the laptop computer feel with the new iOS cursor. And it clicks. It really physically clicks, so everywhere from corner to corner, which is nice. So now you have the iPad hovering above the keyboard here with just enough room to type and not really ever touch the iPad. Usually, for me, that's good. And so now it feels like a computer. The USB Type-C charging pass-through is at the bottom, like where a normal computer port would be. And I seem to be getting almost 100% efficiency through those pins, which definitely impressed me. So it's like a real 13-inch laptop-ish computer with a 120 hertz screen and iPad OS and all of its quirks. But let me tell you, there are still a lot of quirks to this being your main computer. First of all, weight management is something we often think about with these iPad cases. In a laptop, you open this by the hinge, and all the weight, all the guts in the computer are at the bottom. And the top is just a lightweight screen, so opening and closing it, pretty elegant. Not a whole lot of problems there, but with the iPad in this case, or any case like this, the iPad is the computer, and so most of that weight is up top, and so it can feel a little bit top heavy. This is part of why they made this case so heavy, is to try to combat this a little bit. to try to make it feel a little bit less top heavy, but still, it's not perfect. This whole thing here, it's still lappable in some positions. That's a new word, right? Lappable. Most of the classic laptop positions are still fine. I know some people were wondering about this. It's better than you might expect, but from experience, it's still not as flexible as a truly bottom-weighted laptop where the hinge is just moving the screen weight. And then if you get down to the keyboard, great keyboard, like I said, physically speaking, but there's no escape key. So if I want to exit a full screen video or use anything you typically escape, you have to touch the screen. And you've probably noticed by now there's no function buttons at all on this keyboard, meaning there's no brightness, volume, or even keyboard backlight brightness shortcuts here. For all that, you gotta touch the screen. In fact, just to change the keyboard brightness, you have to go into the Settings app, into General, into Keyboard Settings, and then into Keyboard Hardware Settings, and then that's where you can manually turn up or down the keyboard backlight brightness. Luckily, auto brightness is typically still pretty good. It's using the iPad's sensors, by the way, so that's hopefully not something you have to do very often, but still, you get the point here. And then also, on a Mac, I'm a Command Q person, as a lot of Mac people are. Whenever I want to quit an app, Command Q to close it. It doesn't quite work the same way here. If you're in an app and you hit Command Q, nothing happens. You have to touch the screen, or Command H to go home. But if you actually do want to close an app in your multitasking without touching the screen, shout out to Peter McKinnon actually for teaching me this, you go to the Command Tab menu and then find the app you want to close in there, and then Command Q to close that. And then, like normal with an iPad, there's a bunch of gestures from the trackpad and keyboard shortcuts to learn. In fact, if you hold down Command at any point in anything, it'll show you a list of all the keyboard shortcuts available to you at that time in that app. So that's a pretty cool pro tip. But that represents a little bit of a learning curve if you've come from something else for the keyboard. So at the end of the day, let me wrap it all up with this. My MacBook Air spec is $1,200. This iPad Pro, the 13-inch, same size screen, is $1,000 plus the $350 case. That makes it $1,350. Now, if I could only have one, if I could only have a laptop with no iPad, or this iPad keyboard case, which is a bit more expensive, but no laptop, I really want to say I would rather have this. I'd rather have the ability to pop off and have an iPad at any time, and then when I want to type, I got the keyboard, and I can go back and forth, and it's much more fun. It's 120 hertz, it's got way more apps, there's cameras if I need them. This is just more fun, but I still need that laptop sometimes. And for me, that's especially when multitasking. Like if I'm writing the review on the keyboard and I have Spotify playing in the background and I just want to skip to the next song, there's no button for it. I have to go over into Spotify and then swipe and then come. Have you ever tried to be on a Zoom call and take notes at the same time in an iPad? Good luck. It doesn't work. But all that being said, in iPad land, there are two types of people in this world. Those who get a case or a folio or a keyboard for their iPad, and they keep it in it all the time. They never take it out. That's just the way the iPad is now. Or those who get a keyboard or case and pop it out and use it mostly like an iPad all the time. And then sometimes they need to type, so they'll pop it in here, type away, it becomes a typing machine, then when they're done, pop it back out, use it as an iPad again. For that second type of person, this setup, this accessory, is the best possible version of the iPad. This is a go. This is awesome. Go for it. Spring the $300. But for me, I'm not getting rid of my laptop. That's been it. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
All right, hello everyone. I'm rolling solo on the new later set. We have some news that took place today. A surprise, a sneaky little announcement from Apple. They're not chilling. They're not resting. They're still putting stuff out. Granted, in a bit of a different way. They didn't have an event. There was no big fanfare, of course, because of the current state of planet Earth. They did it virtually. They did it from a distance. They did a no guest announcement, and some people are talking about it, so I figured I would check it out for myself and we could look at it together. It is a new iPad Pro. Let's go ahead and roll this clip real quick and keep the music off, but you see a similar design to the previous version, but some new accessories. The most advanced mobile display. Some improvements. It's going to be a faster unit, A12Z Bionic. They keep trying to tell you, they keep trying to convince people this is the future of computing. It's not your laptop. They went ahead and put the new camera system in there as well, adding the ultra-wide. They put a LiDAR scanner in there. They want this to be your AR machine so that you can, look around your room and imagine what furniture from IKEA looks like. Interior designers and so on will probably like that. For me, the most exciting is the new keyboard. I gotta pause this real quick. The new keyboard. All right, the Magic Keyboard / trackpad. They added real legit trackpad support for the iPad, and they put a keyboard on there that I might actually use. And if you recall, I've done challenges in the past attempting to use the iPad Folio keyboard and replace my laptop with an iPad permanently, but the keyboard eventually it would kill me at some point. I'd say I want some tactile feedback. And this really cool stand, which makes it look like the iPad itself is floating, magnetically attached. Now, granted, I don't know. Immediately when I saw that, I thought about, what about on the lap? It looks really nice. And I believe it even charges your iPad from the keyboard case. So it's a product more like what Microsoft is doing with their Surface products. And actually, at this point, I feel like Microsoft has maybe blurred the line more than Apple as far as what constitutes a laptop and what constitutes a tablet. And this is a little bit of catch-up work from Apple with this particular case to blur that line even further, although they think they blurred it a long time ago with these titles. Your next computer is not a computer, this is not a computer, this is a computer, this is the only computer, and so forth. Constantly saying the word computer. You add the Apple Pencil, you just have a versatile package and an exciting product. So that's the initial promo video, but then they put out another video called How to Correctly Use a Computer, and this is a stylish video. Of course, Apple knows how to make a video, don't they? This one, it's got a little Wes Anderson vibe to it with the yellow font, aged-looking font, and you have some very Apple-looking people in here doing very Apple-ish things, wearing AirPods Pro, using iPad Pros, being messy because they can, because they have Apple products and they're allowed and they can throw the iPad around and play games on it. Again, it's along the similar line that this is the future of computing. You don't have to be tethered to a desk. Your computer itself is a thing that changes form frequently, that can flip around, and now you have this keyboard case, which does a better job of completing the laptop replacement, which is the thing that I've been talking about asking for. They also go into showing you that you can take it wherever you want, you can take photos with it. Your computer doesn't have a camera, although I never felt personally all that comfortable or confident taking a photo of an iPad. And then, of course, you can draw on it. They're still trying to sell you the Apple Pencil. All right, so let's break it down. What do we have here? There's a lady in the bathtub. See who's in the bathtub? Video real quick there. Your next computer is not a computer. All right, we get it. Thank you very much. Now we need to break down, well, what does this all mean? Should you care? You probably do. I mean, you're watching the video, you care to a certain degree. Plus, let's be honest, you're trapped indoors. We've covered that. You need something to watch here. So we're all watching what Apple is doing, including myself and now yourself. It's not just, by the way, it's not just a new iPad that they put out and these new accessories. They also put out a new MacBook Air. And they fixed the keyboard. So you probably noticed I'm looking at a MacBook right now. This is the new 16-inch model with the fixed keyboard, with going back to the scissor mechanism away from the butterfly mechanism. And what can I say? This keyboard's been fine. It's not my favorite keyboard in the world, but it's certainly an improvement over the butterfly thing because I had two separate units, personally, plus one of Will's units, failed because the crumb or whatever it is that happened, those keyboards were just a little bit too sensitive, as you're probably aware at this point. So they add the new old keyboard, the scissor mechanism keyboard from the 16-inch laptop that I'm looking at right here into the MacBook Air. And that's where things get weird. You put out a new MacBook Air, You put out this really cool iPad. They don't even make a video for the MacBook Air. They don't care about the MacBook Air. The MacBook Air is not a computer. Your next computer is not a computer. You understand? They'd rather sell you the iPad. And there's probably, I think there's some good reason for it. From a business perspective, if they sell you the new iPad, plus you go ahead and get the new keyboard case for it, let me tell you what you're looking at from a price tag perspective. Here we're on MacRumors.com. We covered everything quite well here in depth. You go for the 12.9-inch model. It starts at $1,000, but if you add a little bit more for it, let's be honest, you can get it up to $1,200. And then the 12.9-inch Magic keyboard attachment is $350. So you could easily be at $1,500. You're in MacBook Pro territory. Now, I get it. You're flipping around. You're having a time. You're like the people in the commercial there. You're taking photos. You're in the back seat of the car. You're always on the go. That's a funny thing, isn't it? That commercial, there's no pandemic going on in that commercial. Those people are freewheeling. They're having fun. So obviously, we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait for a time in which society is back to its free-flowing nature to truly appreciate how to correctly use a computer. Because right now, I bet there's a lot of people sitting on couches and at desks, and you're not in the back of a car, and you're not laying down in the public space like they're doing in that particular. But anyway, so what I'm trying to get at here, the new MacBook Air, traditional Intel processor, full-fledged desktop operating system, and all the software that comes with that, starting at $1,000. And if you add the Magic Keyboard to the 12.9-inch new iPad Pro, even the baseline model with 128 storage and only Wi-Fi, and you're already up to $1,349, a substantial increase. So I realize they're different products. I realize there's nothing really futuristic about the new MacBook Air other than fixing the things that are wrong with it. But it really feels like increasingly Apple doesn't want you to buy the MacBook Air. They would much prefer if you purchase this iPad ecosystem. Also, the software on the iPad appears to be of great importance to them. They're investing a lot in developing that software, and they want more people to experience it. So I kind of understand it. Another cool thing that happened here is the new accessories are going to be compatible with the old version iPad. So if you bought the iPad Pro from last year, the 11 or 12.9-inch, then you can buy this new cool attachment. Granted, you can already order the new iPad Pro, but you cannot get the new Magic Keyboard until May. It'll be available in May, the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch version. Also, the 12.9-inch version attachment is going to be $50 more than the 11-inch version. I'm curious, the whole weight thing, it starts getting heavy when you put it all together, but I get it. It's a transformer. You don't need to carry all the components at all times. But I kind of had this experience myself where by the time I had the iPad Pro all stocked up with the Smart Folio and all the rest of it, I'm sitting there saying, man, I have laptops that are lighter than that. And I use it most of the time in a laptop form factor. Me personally. Okay, so just rounding out the new specifics here, A12C Bionic chip, the new Magic Keyboard accessory with a built-in trackpad and trackpad support within the software dating back to the version, ultra-wide cameras, a LiDAR scanner for that better AR performance. And they say that it's faster and more powerful than most Windows PC laptops. Even though they had to take a shot, then again, there's a lot of old Windows PCs there. And what is faster? And what is more powerful? If I can't get the software I'm looking for, what is it? Certain software. So it's true. Nonetheless, you're trying to sell the thing. Of course, you can say it. All right, so for me, the thing that I'm most excited about checking out is going to be that new keyboard case. I want to tap those key switches as you would, as I do, as I'm interested in, and you're obviously well aware of that. And I just want to see the floating mechanism and how it does on the lap. I think it's curious that in their video, it wasn't on the lap. It was mostly just sitting on surfaces. It looks cool that way, but I wonder about the weight distribution. It's got a real impact visually. You go ahead and you order it. For example, with the Microsoft product, the Surface Book, the one with the detachable tablet portion, it ends up top heavy. And then you try to put it on the lap and it wants to fall back. Now that one's not terrible because it is a traditional laptop form factor when it's connected, but this one to me has a top heavy appearance to it. So I'm a bit curious to throw it on the lap. If you want to tip over, hopefully not. Hopefully they were able to engineer around that. That would be pretty amazing if they were. So I want to get my hands on it, but it's not until May. Anyways, and we have bigger fish to fry. in the meantime, as you're well aware. But nonetheless, it's cool to see something still happening in tech, some sense of normalcy. Apple still announcing things and putting things out, even if it's in this diminished format here, just squeaking out a couple videos on YouTube. It still gives us something to watch and to feel like the world is still moving, because it is. Apple's got a lot of money on the line, a lot of products in the pipeline. I promise you, for them, things are very, very much still moving. Your next computer is not a computer video. 3.7 million views in 7 hours. People seem to care. They're interested. I'm at least glad they're attempting to push the form factor forward. As much as I'm a laptop guy, I'm always looking at a laptop. You do wonder what that next productive computing platform is. Is it just a smartphone? Is it a bigger smartphone? Is it what Apple's doing with the iPad Pro? I still like to know this. So I'm glad they're paying some degree. Anyway, there you go. That's a solo mode from the Lou Later set. Little update. Hopefully you guys appreciated it, enjoyed it. I don't know. What do I know? It's 2020. Things are crazy. I know very little. What I do know is I'm still trying to keep it moving just like Apple is. So I'll be here. I'll talk to you. Maybe tomorrow.
Man, does Apple know how to make a video? Don't they know how to make a commercial for a phone that's brand new? Or is it brand new? Well, it's sort of brand new. It's brand new on the inside. That's what counts. Of course, I'm talking about the newly announced, not through an event, through a press release. Of course, we know the status. We know the situation in 2020. It's the iPhone SE2. They're not calling it the SE2. It's just the SE, second generation. But to those of you that just want to get a grip on what it exactly is, well, it's the iPhone 8. But inside, which is the part that counts, you're getting iPhone 11 specs. And then, on top of it all, you're getting a price tag. And I think this story is mostly about the price tag at $399. Especially in a time when brands like OnePlus, as we saw in those recent unboxing videos that I posted, where they're going up market. Big price tags on their flagship material. Now, I'm not trying to compare the devices, because obviously they're different things. And they're for different people, they're for different customers. But as much as you can look at this thing and kind of find it underwhelming to have a device that's like an old device, there is a weird kind of nostalgic play that has become evident to me, because I'm out in the street. Well, not as much anymore, but when I was, which wasn't that long ago, it was a lot of older iPhones out there. You see people in real life hanging on to those old iPhones, hanging on to that small form factor. What do they need? What do they need to see improved? Are they like you and I? Do they need the cutting edge spec? Do they have to have the bezel-less screen to body ratio, aggressive screen to body ratio? Do they need all that? Or do they just want the same thing they have, but faster? The same thing they have, but with an improved camera? The same thing they have, but with wireless charging? Or possibly better battery life, though that remains to be seen, though Apple does say they have this tremendous battery life. I mean, you saw the commercial. Alright, so what do I have in front of me here? I wanted to know how this thing was going to stack up. This new iPhone SE, iPhone SE2, iPhone SE 2020. And so I had to bring out the history lesson, the museum items. We have on the far left the iPhone 7, which when the iPhone 8 came out, it was like, okay, that's an iPhone 7. And so I had to have that there just to, well, it's kind of fit the table well, also, so. iPhone 7, iPhone 8, iPhone 11 Pro, iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro Max. Okay, cool. We get the idea. We can slide this one out of there because it's not part of the lineup. Of course, this is an iPhone 8. It's not an iPhone SE 2, but that's exactly what it looks like. And the first thing, when I went back to reach for this thing, it struck me how compact it was. It really feels like a trip down memory lane. And I don't know if it's just strictly nostalgia, a longing for a past that no longer exists, and also a future that no longer exists, because you know how the lockdown So there's some kind of weird, warm and fuzzy feeling just hanging on to something that you're so familiar with, and it's, well, so easy to hold because of how tiny it is. But then you flip it around the other way, and it's actually hard to see it on this phone, so I'll pull out the 7 for this purpose. You flip it over this way, and it's, well, the nostalgia fades, doesn't it? Because you're staring at some giant bezels on there. And I'm not sure who's really okay with that or who wants that. I'm sure there's people who don't care, but it's hard as an enthusiast to look at something like that and be all right. Be happy with it, satisfied, because it just, well, that's one of those old tech things where there's no warm and fuzzy. It's just, maybe there's a warm and fuzzy when it comes to Touch ID, because, you know, some people just never really got comfy with the Face ID situation. Of course, people are wearing masks now, so kind of an opportune time. I wish they never got rid of it. I wish these devices had the versatility of some other devices where you have the in-display as well as the face unlock. But the big important characteristic is the price point. And the reason I think this device will be attractive to a number of people, three reasons. I'll break it down to 3. Number 1, price, $399. I want an Apple logo in something modern that can run all the tasks I want it to run. I want that for a price unlike the Pro models. I want that for the lowest possible entry. Okay, here you go, $399. There's your Apple logo. Oh, by the way, one thing that did change, the Apple logo moved down to the center from where it was on the iPhone 8 to match the other models, all right? Because you can see how ugly that looks in this lineup. Who could accept such a thing? So the Apple logo moved down. So number 1, price. I want that Apple logo for the lowest possible price. I walk into the Apple store, I head over to the website. My phone is old, my phone is busted. I'm at the Genius Bar once the lockdown ends. I'm at the Genius Bar. My phone is busted or the battery's dead. Okay, I need a new one. Well, what do I got in the bank account? It's not looking good. Okay, I'll take the $399. You see, this is kind of the iPhone to fill all the gaps from a person who's not constantly upgrading every single cycle. And the way I look at it, by them putting that chip in there that's shared across this variety of devices that are way more money, the actual user experience, minus the immersiveness of the display side, the user experience, the person feeling like they're using one of these at $399. Pat themselves on the back, save the extra money. You know? It's kind of funny, Apple having a $399 play that they just announced right on the back of the OnePlus event where everyone said, oh, they went up market. That's not a flagship killer anymore. It's just straight up flagship. Some people applaud them for that. Other people, hey, where's the play for a guy like me? Where's the $500 play? Or let alone the $400 play? Now, granted, how can you compare? Apple, they took an old shell. They crammed the stuff in there. It's an old thing kind of made new. But I just gotta say, from personal experience, as much as it's hard for me as a tech enthusiast to get excited about an old form factor done over again, that's us. We're in this community. We're deep. We watch this stuff, make these videos. Out in the real world, with everybody else that might not be a part of this specific community, it's a different story. And that cost component really does matter. So, first thing, it's gonna be price. Second thing is gonna be camera. Now hear me out for a second here. I know you're thinking, he's making all these justifications. What is he, an Apple fan? Fine, call me what you got. I don't even use these. I feel like I'm making a case. Allow me to make a case, please, if you don't mind. I appreciate you spending the time, by the way. The camera. Yes, these things, it's a massive camera setup. You've got the versatility. You've got the telephoto, you've got the wide on the Pro model. And, of course, you have only the 2 camera setup on the non-Pro model. But let's just talk about the Pro model, the flagship. How often does the average person end up just snapping a photo with the main camera unit? Anyway. And we know that the iPhone 11 Pro, it's got one of the best main camera units on any phone, period. It's got the price tag to match. So you sit there and you say to yourself, $399, and I have the same, at least that's what Apple's telling us now, I have the same camera performance as the main camera on a phone that's well over $1,000 in most configurations, many configurations. Say, okay, I can't bust into the wide angle. I can't zoom in on a telephoto. I don't have the versatility But as far as that one-to-one comparison, boom, I pop off a shot and I have flagship quality camera operation at $399. That's a bit of a win, is it not? Call me crazy? You guys do it anyways. It's a bit of a win, is it not? Number 3 is going to be form factor. There's just people out there, they have to exist. They must be real. There's people out there who are not all about this big phone trend. I know it's mostly not us in this community here, but there's got to be some people out there, they pick up these big devices. Jeez, can't handle it. It's not me. I'm not saying it's me. I think it's one of the reasons that the Pro model comes in smaller than the first non-Pro 11. They gave people a flagship option that's smaller than most other flagship options from other brands. So Apple's thinking about it. What are people's hand sizes? What can people put up with? And so for those that are out there that just don't want to scale this thing up, they want a slim and trim little package for the pocket, and I presume those people exist, then that's another reason they're going to look at the SE. So just to recap, price is number 1. The camera, and I'll include the processor in there as well, the power, the computing power that's in there as well, the modernization of that component, but mostly the camera. All right, we have price, camera, and size, and that's kind of how this SE shakes out. I keep referencing the iPhone 8 as the SE because for all intents and purposes, that's exactly what we're dealing with. Now the downsides, they're fairly obvious. You have an antiquated look. And I'm going to keep grabbing for the 7 because I might as well, because the look is essentially the same minus the glass back. You have a very dated look. You have a phone that you're going to pull out of your pocket and absolutely no one is going to point at that and say, hey man, cool phone. It's not going to happen. Granted, who cares? Maybe for some people. But maybe you're not even going to look at it and think, hey, cool phone. Are you going to be inspired looking at this slab? I doubt it. Does that matter to you? You have to evaluate. You have to look at it. For a person like me, on the enthusiast side, I like to see the future. Big, bright, OLED display. Go ahead and blame me. All right, that's where I'm at in 2020. So, I think the bad points on it are fairly obvious, so I don't really need to recap all of them. And certainly, if you're willing to expand your horizon and look out to the various other brands that exist globally, $399 is not chump change. You can get some pretty futuristic looking phones for $399. But I really don't think that's who this SE2 is for. This SE2 is for those people that I referenced earlier. That wide variety of people. And believe me, it is a wide variety of people. So as uninspiring as this thing might be for people like us, we have to understand the play. We have to look at what Apple's trying to do. And when you combine the global situation with that group of people who are already trending that way, the global situation with the economic slowdown and all the rest of it, maybe price is this killer feature above all else. Maybe that's why people have been very sensitive about this recent OnePlus launch. I've been reading the comments. People say, what is it? That's not the OnePlus DNA. Maybe that's why. Maybe it is price above all else. Anyway, you let me know what you think. That's what I think. Here it is. This is the iPhone SE2. I mean, you can't tell the difference looking at it.